Om Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kuru Me Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Gurur Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Hari Om, Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Namaste and a hearty welcome to one and all for today's 66th session of our series, Gift, Gita for Inner Freedom and Transformation. Friends, in today's verses 51 to 55 of chapter 11, Vishwaroopa Darshana, Arjuna is relieved to behold the two-armed human form of the Lord. Bhagwan Krishna says that it is extremely difficult to see, and even the celestial gods are eager to behold the Vishvarupa. It cannot be seen by the study of the Vedas or penance, charity, or even conducting homams, but by pure devotion alone it is possible. As a recipient of the divine vision, Arjuna is blessed to merge with the Lord. All devotees who perform all their duties in the name of the Lord, who are devoted to Him, free from attachment, malice towards all beings, depend upon Him, will reach the Lord. These verses shall be explained by our Param Vedanta teachers, Dr. Chandrakala, Srimati Anjali Shankar, Srimati Apeksha, Dr. Satyanarayana Lale, and Srimati Sukanya Narayan. Dr. Anupama will moderate today's session, introduce the day's topics, and highlight the key aspects of the verses. Over to Dr. Anupama, please.
Thank you, sir. Sadashiva-samarambham Shankaracharya-madhyamam Asmadacharya-paryantam Vande Guru-paramparam. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. As Shri Shivkumar just said, we are doing Bhagavad Gita, chapter 11, verses 51 to 55. Let's begin with this question. What is Vishvarupa Ishvara Darshanam? It is the vision of the Lord as Srishti Sthiti Laya Karanam of the universe. This being the stepping stone to Arupa Ishvara, we are still in the Vyavaharika Prapancha. Vishvarupa Ishvara, therefore, being Vyavaharika, is Dvanda, meaning endowed with pairs of opposites. Without the ability or maturity to accept creation in its totality, we rejoice in its positive aspects like birth, growth, prosperity, and despair about the negative aspects like death, disease, separation, etc. Let's start by tracing our understanding of Vishvarupa Ishvara. Initially, we understood it as a boon given to Arjuna by Krishna, something like a child viewing the world through a simulator. We then understood it as a shift in attitude, eka to aneka rupa Ishvara Bhakti. This means perception of divinity in everything. That means initially, I believed world vision and God vision were mutually exclusive experiences, being in the triangular format. I then realized that world darshanam is God darshanam. This is called divinization of the world, and it is an exalted vision. I have converted every Vishaya, meaning Jiva Srishti, into a Padartha, Ishvara Srishti, and this is possible only by diluting my ahankara, mamakara. In the verses to follow, we see Arjuna asking Lord Krishna to withdraw his Vishwarupa Ishvara Darshanam. Does this mean that Prapancha should resolve something like a pralaya? No. Vishvarupa Ishvara or Divya Chakshu is freedom from ahankara, mamakara. Since Arjuna, like most of us, is not yet a sadhana chatushtaya sampanna, he is reverting to his habitual ahankara, mamakara state of mind. As we see in this picture, a man here is lost in the beauty of Vishvarupa Ishvara. The other, although right beside him on the beach, unlike the first man, is blind to Vishvarupa Ishvara, perhaps engrossed in filing a lawsuit against his brother, ahankara, mamakara at work. Vishvarupa Ishvara Darshana, therefore, is not a pair of magical chakshuhu, but Guru Shastra Upadesha to gain jnana yogyata. This gives me the understanding that Vishwam Darpana Drishyamana Nagari Tulyam Nija Antargatam. The entire world, the Vishwam, is functionally projected only in the screen of our minds. Nothing is experienced directly. Every experience is an illusion caused by Maya, very similar to the dream world which seems to be outside. But yet sakshat kurute prabodha samaye, once I awake, I realize swatmanam eva advayam. There is no other. This is Advaita Jnanam. So Jnana Chakshuhu is Dvaita Pranti Nivritti. Just as the dream world arises, exists, and resolves into me, so also Vishwam Darpana Drishyamana Nagari Tulyam Nija Antargatam. But Mayaya Bahiriva Udbhutam Yatha Nidraya. So, was Arjuna emotionally or spiritually weak? Not really. Nirguna Dhyanam is extremely difficult. We have heard Yama Dharmaraja say in the Kathopanishad, Kshurasya Dhara Nishita Duratyaya Durgam Pataha Tha Tat Kavayo Vadanti. And Lord Krishna has said, Kleshaha Adikatara Tesham Avyakta Asakta Chetasam Avyaktahi Gati Dukkam Dehavad Bhi Avapyate. Jnana Yoga is difficult. Why? Because the Lord here is not available for objectification. It is only one who understands himself to be the formless who can understand that Bhagavan is formless. We have a form, but we are not that form. The path to Nirguna Dhyanam is difficult because of our Deha Abhimana, our ahankara and mamakara. It's like walking on a razor's edge. So, other than Jnana Yoga, do we have a choice of yogas? No. According to Atma Bodha, Avirodhataya karma na avidyam vinivartate. Vidya avidyam nihanti eva tejaha timirasangaha. What is avirodhataya karma? This means karma is not an enemy. On the contrary, it is a fuel for avidya. Therefore, Krishna here says, ananya bhaktya, meaning tivra mumukshutvam, is the only means to tattva jnanam. Naham vedaihi, na tapasa, na danena, na ijjaya. There is no form of karma that would enable us to get jnanam. But vidya eva avidyam nihanti. The drishtanta being tejaha timira sangavat, just as light alone removes darkness. Therefore, we should understand that our path to progress is from eka to aneka and finally arupa ishvara. So it is only with jnana chakshu that we realize the mamsa chakshu reveals just the world, but it is the jnana chakshu that perceives chaitanyam, as beautifully said in this shloka of Atma Bodha. Sarvagam Satchit Atmanam Jnana Chakshuhu Nirikshate. Ajnana chakshuhu na ikshate bhasvantam banum andhavat. The eye of ignorance does not perceive consciousness of Brahman, just like the blind do not perceive the resplendent sun. Krishna had said this earlier. Ya nisha sarva bhutanam yasyam jagarti samyami. Here ya means Advaita Tattvam of Brahman. Nisha means ignorance. Sarva bhutanam refers to all of us, the Ajnanis. And although Brahman is self-evident in every experience, prati bodhitam vitam madam, just like the resplendent sunlight, and just as nocturnal creatures do not perceive the sunlight, Ajnanis are unable to perceive Brahman. Why? For want of jnana chakshuhu. Therefore, we should know that jnana chakshuhu is right perception using appropriate pramanam. It means seeing everything as Atma. This is scriptural vision. Just as scientists see everything as atoms. So, what do you see here in this picture? A physics ajnani can see the Great Wall, but a physics jnani sees only atoms in motion. How do we get this jnana chakshuhu? Krishna says, Bhaktya tu ananya shakya aham eva vidharjuna jnatum drashtum cha tatvena praveshtum cha parantapa. This means undivided bhakti or mumukshu bhakti, which he here calls ananya bhakti, leads to tatvena jnanam. And in due course, we will know that God is neither sadhanam or sadhyam, but aham brahma asmi. Krishna goes on to say, Mat karma krita, be a karma yogi. Mat bhaktaha, be my devotee. Mat parama, make me your supreme goal. Sangha varjita, be free from ahankara, mamakara, means free from raga. And nirvairaha, have no dvesha. This means become a sadhana chatushtaya sampanna. But once accomplished, I will need a guru. How can I find a guru? Is it possible to identify a guru or a jnani according to Atma Bodha? It is not possible. Why? Shankaracharya describes in this beautiful verse, Bahyaha Antyaha Sukha Asaktim Hitva Atma Sukha Nivritaha Gatastha Deepavat Swastaha Swa Antaha Eva Prakashyate. This means having relinquished attachment to transitory external joys, the enlightened one, the jnani, contented with bliss of Atman, shines alone inwardly like a light placed in a jar. How would we know the difference between the jar in the right and left without knowing that there is a candle in one of them? But Krishna assures us that this is not our problem. He says, Tesham satata yuktanam vajatam priti purvakam dadhami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayanti te. So after many years of nidityasanam or many lives of nidityasanam, in the final stage, I realize bahunam janmanam ante jnanavan mam prabhatyante vasudeva sarvam iti. Meaning, with this jnanam, mam prabhatyante, the notional difference between Jivatma and Paramatma ceases to exist. To me, Vasudeva Krishna now is Vasuhu, the Satrupa Ishvara, and Deva, the Chitrupa Ishvara. Now, knowing Aham Brahma Asmi, what is the significance of Vishwarupa Ishvara Darshanam? If Ishvara is the ocean, creation is a bubble in it. Upadane akila adhare jaganti parameshware sarga sthiti layan yanti budbudhan eva varini. This means Shashvan Nashwarameva Vishwam Akhilam. After all, just as a formless lump of clay is transformed into pots and plates, Vishvarupa is I, Brahman, as existence. Being asleep to my original consciousness status is akin to being just fast asleep. Therefore, Uttishta Jagrata, prapyah varan nibodha, because kshurasya dhara nishita turatyaya. Although challenging, realize through Guru Shastra Upadesha, I appear in this world as Advaita Darshanam. Thank you. To conclude here, I request each speaker to take over sequentially. Dr. Chandrakala will now initiate today's session with verse 51. Over to you, madam. Thank you.
Thank you, madam. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Coming to the verse 11.51, Arjuna Uvacha, Drishta Vedam Manusham Rupam, Tava Somyam Janardana, Ida Nimasmi Samruttaha, Sacheta Prakritim Gataha. A brief recap of the verses which has happened in this chapter and the previous verses, which is important for the flow. Through previous verses of this chapter, we are aware God is both the intelligent as well as the material cause of the universe. That is Abhinna Nimitta Upadana Karanam. The universe is nothing but God evolved with different Nama Rupa. Ishvara iva prapanchaha, prapancha iva ishvaraha. When I understand universe as embodiment of Ishvaraha, as the body of the Lord, that is Vishwarupa Darshanam. So, Vishwarupa Darshanam is not an extraordinary object, but an extraordinary attitude towards the ordinary universe. This attitude, born out of understanding, is called Divya Chakshuhu. We are seeing something old with new attitude. After seeing Vishvarupa, Arjuna goes through different phases. In the few verses, so Kala Tattvam has been explained. That is Shrishti, Sthiti, Laya Karanam. If Arjuna had seen is being totally free from ahankara and mamakara, he would have not created any problem. But still, Arjuna experienced fear born out of ahankara, mamakara. So, Arjuna had Divya Chakshahu, which was given by Lord Krishna, like ripening of fruit artificially. So, in the next verses, we have seen that Lord says, I am Kala Tattvam. So, Arjuna's Vishwarupa Darshanam involve accepting Bhagavan as Kala Tattvam. We need to appreciate orderliness and harmony of the creation. The three phases Arjuna went through were Ascharyam, Bhayam, and Bhakti. If one has no ahankara and mamakara, all this will appear as Leela of God. Here, Arjuna was frightened and say, I don't want this Vishwarupa Darshanam. Immature mind can't accept Vishwarupa Darshanam. So, confined to Ekarupa Ishvara, reduce ahamkara mamakara, drop the attachment. From Ekarupa Ishvara, go to Anekarupa Ishvara, and then Arupa Ishvara. For all this level, Bhakti is an important sadhana. Here, Arjuna got his ahamkara mamakara, and naturally, he missed the Vishwarupa beauty of the Lord. For him, it was a terrible thing. So Arjuna says, seeing pleasing human form of God, he becomes peaceful. He says, hey Janardana. Janardana means tormenting. Arjuna had just seen Krishna eating up everyone, so he got frightened. I want Soumya Rupam, which is human form. Idanim asmi samruttaha. I have recovered my thoughts, come back to normal state of mind. Stunned by the vision of Vishvarupa, I had lost my mind. Now I got back my mind. Prakritim gataha. Now I am my natural self. That is the meaning of this verse. Thank you very much.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Verse 52. Sudurdarshamidam rupam drishtavanasi yanmama devapyasya rupasya nityam darshana kamkshina The word by word meaning of this verse is Shri Bhagavan Uvacha. The Lord said, Idam Rupam, this form, Mama, of mine, Yad Drishtan Asi, which you have seen, Sudurdarsham, is very difficult to see. Api Deva, even gods. Nityam Darshana Kankshina. The gods are always craving for the vision, Asya Rupasya, of this form. The Lord said, this form of mine which you have seen is very difficult to see. Even gods are always craving for the vision of this form. In these last few verses, Krishna is concluding the chapter by telling the glory of the Vishvarupa. Especially in this verse, he describes Vishwarupa Ishvara Darshana as extremely rare and difficult to get to see. Even the celestial gods are regularly praying and are eagerly waiting to see this form. If it is so, how Arjuna got the opportunity to see this rare form? Obviously, he is not so qualified as a person without ego, a person without ahankara and mamakara. No. Then how come he got to see the Vishvarupa? Arjuna had one greatness, that he had surrendered himself to Lord Krishna. Also, the greatest accomplishment he had was the grace of his Guru, Krishna himself. With these two qualifications, his ego got temporarily removed and he became eligible to get a temporary Vishwarupa Darshana. Though it is temporary, Arjuna gets two special visual abilities with this Divya Chakshu, the exalted vision and the extended vision. With the exalted vision, Arjuna was able to look at the whole world as Ishvara. He was able to see Ishvara in everything around. What is an extended vision? Extended vision is the ability to see other lokas, which means he could see beyond the bhulokas. He had the capacity to perceive bhuvarloka, suvarloka, devas, yakshas, kinnaras, and etc. He was also gifted to see the future and the past as well. In short, he had the extrasensory perception as part of the extended vision. Though the gift of extended vision looks so attractive, we should know that exalted vision is superior to the extended vision in all ways. The ability to see extraordinary in otherwise the very ordinary things seen around, that is the exalted vision. The ability to see divinity in everything. This is the Divya Chakshu, which allow the enlightened being to look at the world itself as Vishwarupa Ishvara. For him or her, all the Panchabhutas become nothing but Ishvara. With the grace of the Guru and the surrendering, all dedicated Vedantic students practicing Karma Yoga and Upasana Yoga will be able to get the Vishwarupa Darshana in this birth itself. Hari Om, Shri Gurubhyo Namaha.
Hari Om. नाहं वेदैर्नः तपसः न दानेन न चेज्यः शक्य एवं विदो दृष्टुम दृष्टवानसि माम यथा. So neither by the study of the Vedas, nor by austerity, nor by charity, nor by worship can I be seen in this form, that is Vishvarupa Ishvara Darshanam, as you have seen me, Arjuna. Next slide, please. So in the previous verse, Lord Krishna has just said, right, Vishvarupa Darshanam is a rare thing. But the question that arises is, what is the means or the sadhanam of getting this Vishvarupa Ishvara Darshanam? The Krishna in the following verse, this verse and the next verse will explain about it. Bhakti, eagerness, a sincere desire or craving called Tivra Bhakti is the sadhanam, which we will know in the next verse. Here, Krishna is saying the only sadhana that is required is Bhakti, and neither the other sadhanas that are mentioned, we have to be very careful. In the scriptures, to glorify the sadhana of Bhakti here, Krishna they have just put down, Krishna has just put down all other sadhana, but that doesn't mean that the other sadhanas are inferior. They are equally important, but the focus is on the one sadhana which will get you the Vishwarupa Ishvara Darshanam, and that is Bhakti here. So Krishna is saying Bhakti alone is the most important sadhana. So what are the other sadhanas mentioned? Even if you're a great Vedic scholar, suppose you can chant all the Vedas, you know everything about the Vedas, still that will not make you eligible for Vishwarupa Ishvara Darshanam. Even if you practice elaborate and intense tapas, austerities, practices, whatever you want to follow, still you will not get Vishwarupa Ishvara Darshanam. Krishna here also says, even if you are doing charity, lot of danam you have done, still you will not be eligible for my Vishvarupa Ishvara Darshana. Even all the yajnas, rituals you can follow throughout your life, but that will also not enable you to get to my Vishvarupa Ishvara Darshanam. So these sadhanas will not get you Vishvarupa Ishvara Darshanam. Next slide, please. But we should remember, if we are doing any of these sadhanas, it does not mean that we have to drop them. It is not meant for dropping. Here, they are being mentioned just to glorify the sadhana, bhakti sadhana here. So each of the means that are mentioned, the sadhanas that are mentioned above, they are required for purifying us, and validate, but they cannot valid, and they're very valid because they can give you a lot of other results that is required for you in your life, but they cannot give you Vishvarupa Ishvara Darshana. It's like, one very, very good example that came was that if you don't understand this, it's like a child who goes to the dentist, he's going actually to get the tooth issue solved. But he wants to go to the doctor so that he can get the lollipop at the end of the visit. Right. So it is just we have to understand that bhakti is the only sadhana, and to glorify the sadhana of bhakti, the other sadhanas are put down, but that doesn't mean they're inferior. They are equally required in the life, but for other results. Next slide, please. So Krishna is saying, Arjuna, you have just got a very rare Vishwarupa Arjuna Darshana, and the irony is what? You want it back? You want this back? You have just seen me a few minutes before. Such a Vishwarupa cannot be attained easily, but you were lucky enough. So if all these sadhanas cannot help you, Lord Krishna is going to answer in the next verse which sadhana will really help, and we will see that in detail in the next verse. Hari Om.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Moving on to next verse, 11.54. The verse goes like this. Bhaktyatva anyaya shakya aham evam vidhorjuna jnatum drishtvum tatvena praveshtum cha parantapa. Going by the verse meaning, word by word, Bhaktyatva anyaya shakya. By unalloyed devotion alone, it is possible. Aham evam vidhorjuna. I can be known as I am, O Arjuna. Gnatvam drushtyum cha tatvena. Thereby, on receiving my divine vision, praveshtum cha parantapa. One can enter into union with me, Arjuna. Next slide. Means the verse meaning is, O Arjuna, however, by undivided devotion, I can be seen in this form, known truly and merged into, O Arjuna. Here, Krishna gives the means of Vishwarupa Darshanam, and that means is Bhakti alone. Next slide. Bhakti means devotion or love for God. We have talked about 4 levels of Bhakti. Artha, Artharthi, Jignasu and Gnani, which can be reduced into 3 levels. Artha and Artharthi is 1 level, Jignasu is another level, Gnani is the 3rd and final level. Initially, our devotion to Lord is only for the benefit of worldly goals, which is otherwise called as Sakama Bhakti, where God is the means and worldly things are the ends. If I get such and such a thing alone done, then I will do this for you, O God. That is how the bhakti is. Later, he begins to understand that it is better to have God, not as the means, but as the end itself. Because he has become mature enough to understand that everything in the world has got threefold dosha. So what are these doshas? Next slide. These doshas can be remembered as BAD, that is bandhakatvam, atriptikarvatvam, and dukkha mishritatvam. So what are these? Bandhakatvam, it is means I only get addicted to them. I will be only enslaved by them. What is atriptikarvatvam? It is whenever I get, whatever I get, I will never get total fulfillment. I will seek more and more only. So there is atripti. Then next is dukkha mishritatvam. Whatever I do in the creation, it is mixed with pain also. So that is dukkha mishritatvam. So I get nitya anitya viveka then. So jagat is anitya, Ishvara alone is shashwatam, therefore reliable. And therefore, once this viveka comes to me, the direction changes. Instead of looking upon the world as the end and God as the means, it is reversed. Now, Ishvara is sadhyam and world is sadhanam. This is the second level of bhakti, which Krishna calls the Jignasu bhakti, otherwise called as Mumukshatva bhakti. The third and final level of bhakti is the bhakti in which God is neither the means nor the end. Here we are talking about ananya bhakti. If this ananya bhakti is there, then Vishwarupa Darshanam is possible, and this will lead to the highest bhakti. With this ananya bhakti, in due course, you will know the Lord in his real nature. And what is the real nature of God? It is neither the sadhanam nor the sadhyam, neither the means nor the end, but Lord is I myself. Aham Brahmasmi. A person can come to that, and through that jnanam, the devotee merges into the Lord. He becomes one with the Lord, the wisdom that the Lord is never different from me. The removal of notion of division is merger, and it is purely a cognitive process. Hari Om.
Hari Om. This will be the final verse of this chapter, Vishwarupa Darshana. Vishvarupa Darshana is the manifestation of the cosmic power of the Lord in various names and forms, an understanding that Ishvara is both the material and intelligent cause of the universe, abhinna nimitta upadana karanam. This relative world of duality is a combination of magnificent glories and the destructive aspects. It's both Srishti Karanam and Laya Karanam. While we accept and appreciate the glories, it is not that easy to accept the disturbing forms. Only a trained mind, devoid of ahankara and mamakara, can accept this duality. Such a person is said to be aneka rupa Ishvara bhakta. Next slide, sir. Arjuna was not ready to accept this duality since he was in distress, seeing his guru, kith and kin, getting killed in the battlefield. In spite of Krishna bestowing him with the Divya Chakshu, he still wanted to go back to see the magnificent form of Arjuna. This is the case with many of us who are comfortable leaning on Ekarupa Ishvara Bhakti, having our own Ishtadevata for attaining worldly desires. Ishtadevata Bhakti is driven by Raga Dvesha. They are not ready to progress to the next level of Aneka Rupa Bhakti and accept the pluralist in the world. In this verse, the Lord says the divinity is attained neither by practice of rituals, charity, nor by tapas. The only means is through ananya bhakti, constant love for God. Such a person eventually attains kramamurti. Now the verse goes like this. Mat karma krit mat paramo mat bhaktaha sangavarjitaha. Nirvairaha sarvabhuteshu yaha samameti pandava. Here, the Lord tells Arjuna how to attain divine wisdom. Initially, you may follow Ekarupa Bhakti with your favorite devata and seek worldly desires. This is Sakama Bhakti, which is fine to start with. But gradually, you need to realize the limitations of world dependence, which has three intrinsic defects. Therefore, switch over to God dependence and use world only as a means to achieve. This shift from Ekarupa Ishvara Bhakti to Anekarupa devotion is Vishwarupa Darshana, which happens only with ananya bhakti. Focus here is bhakti. Other sadhanas are equally important. Karma yoga, upasana yoga, and jnana yoga are very important. Next slide, sir. Bhakti is the means to attain Parama Purushartha. Vedas have listed 3 levels of bhaktas. Karma Lakshana Bhakti. Actions performed are expressed in the form of bhakti. As karta, Ishvara Arpana Bhava, and as bhokta, Ishvara Prasada Bhava. That is right action, right attitude. Then the next is Upasana Lakshana Bhakti, visualizing the form of Ishvara in mind, meditating on that form, and bringing the extrovert mind introvert. The next one is Jnana Lakshana Bhakti, study of scriptures under Guru, Shastra, Upadesha, which involves Shravana, Manana, and Nididhyasanam. So, Bhakti is not a separate sadhana, but an integral part of the entire range of sadhanas. Next slide. Stages of Bhakti, as in Bhagavad Gita, chapters 12, are Artha Bhakti, those caught in distress to seek God, to overcome their distress. This is Sakama Bhakti. Then the next, Artharthi Bhakti, those who seek material prosperity, they are also Sakama Bhaktas. Then Jignasu Bhakti, they are not in distress, no worldly desires, but has an intense desire on self-knowledge. He is aware of the 3 doshas in relying on the world. Therefore, he relies on God and uses the world as a means. This is the stage referred to here as Ananya Bhakti. The final is Gnani Bhakta, who has the knowledge of one's own real nature. This is the highest level of devotion. Next slide, sir. Key words in the verse which Krishna advises Arjuna are the following. Mat karma krita. Be a karma yogi, dedicate all your actions to God with Ishvara Arpana Bhava and Ishvara Prasada Bhava. This is already said in chapter 2 of Bhagavad Gita. Yogastaha kuru karmani sangam tektva dhananjaya. Performance of duty without attachment is yoga of equanimity. The next word is Madbhaktaha Bhava. May you be my devotee, converting your goal as God. Convert your desires from prayers to shreyas. Seek the eternal, not the ephemeral. As an illustration, we can say, use world is compared to a well-decorated cardboard chair. You can't sit on this chair, or likewise, you can't lean on the world for peace, security, and happiness. Therefore, train your mind to be God-dependent. Mat paramo bhava is the next word. Gradually become tivra mumukshu. Your goal should be only moksha. All others are only a means to achieve this goal. Sangavarjitaha bhava. When the desire for moksha deepens, there is detachment for things like people, relations, spouse, children, etc. As an example, a child naturally grows out of his desire for a toy car and now wants a luxury car. Nirvairaha sarva bhuteshu. No hatred towards anyone. Raga dvesha rahitaha. Neither raga nor dvesha. Presence or absence of anything is not felt. In short, develop viveka, vairagya, and mumukshatvam. You will attain me, Mam Eti. Such upasaka will merge into me. I'll provide all necessary conditions for him to attain moksha. These are Krishna's words of assurance to Arjuna. Next slide, sir. Ananya Bhakti is neither a means nor an end in itself. Bhaktya mam abhijanati yavanyas chanmi tatvataha tato mam tatvato gnatva vishate tadanantaram. With such level of uninterrupted devotion, Gnani, who attains the knowledge of all-pervading Satchit Ananta Atma, merges into Brahman. The benefits of this knowledge are Chitta Vishalata, expansion of the mind through totality, appreciation of the totality, Amanitvam, humility. Everything belongs to Ishvara. Every object in creation is sacred. In short, Sarvatra Pujyata Bhava, a respect for all forms of creation. The next chapter begins with Arjuna's question again about what is Ananya Bhakti. Hari Om. Om Tat Sat iti Srimad Bhagavad Gitasu Upanishatsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Shri Krishna Arjuna Samvade Vishvarupa Darshana Yogo Nama एकादशोऽध्यायः। ॐ श्रीकृष्णार्पणमस्तु। हरिः ॐ।
On behalf of all of us, let me express to Dr. Anupama, all the speakers of the day, and all the Vedantins who have joined us today, a warm and hearty thanks for a wonderful session. Friends, remember to join us at 6:45 p.m. on Friday, 21st of February for the 11th session of Atma Bodha and benefit from the enlightening knowledge expounded by Bhagavad Pada Adi Shankaracharya. Let us chant the Shanti Mantra and conclude today's session. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Shri Krishna.